This is part 12 of building an off-grid school bus. So in one of my previous videos, I showed how I made this small roof raise so that I could have the ceiling space to make a shower. So the first thing I did was figure out where to drill the hole for the drain. And now I mix up the mortar for my base. The Schluter All-Set mortar works really good. Because the bus won't always be on flat ground, I made sure to add extra mortar around the edges and the corners. That way the water will flow into the drain. Next, I'm going to liquid nail and screw my foam board to the back. This will make it extra strong. And I couldn't decide if I wanted to have a tile or cedar shower, so I figured I'd do a combo. So the back wall is going to be tile, and then the side walls are going to be cedar, which is why I'm stapling this waterproof fabric behind where the cedar will go. Next, I make sure to mortar all the corners, seams, and screws. There should be no way the water can get through even without the tile. Now I can begin mortaring the tiles to the back wall. The type of spacers I use in between the tiles also keep the tiles perfectly flat. And I also use a little more mortar than I usually do because the tiles need to be able to withstand going down the road. And I decided to have my factory edge against the windowsill, so I had to shim the tiles up, which definitely made this a little more challenging. Now I made this windowsill out of cedar and I sanded it and sealed it. Now the reason this is going to work is because of the way the windows overlap. Any water that hits the glass will just flow right outside the bus. I'm also going to caulk all the way around the perimeter of the sill before I screw the cedar on. That way the water won't get under the wood. So after I've trimmed around the windows with the cedar, I can just break off all the spacers, make sure my grout lines are clean, and then begin grouting the tile. Now right after I'd bought the cedar for the shower, I put a coat of sealer on it. This just locks in the color and makes sure the boards don't fade. And before I'm finished, I'll put at least 3 coats of sealer on the cedar to make sure it's extra waterproof. And I put a notch in each board. This way they overlap one another and the water will just flow right over. And I also squirted silicone in the corners behind the boards as well. And then I just trim the sides with more cedar. And then apply another coat of sealer. And for the floor, I decided to put river rock for a natural look. After I've mortared the rock to the floor, I then begin to fill it with grout. I chose tan grout to imitate sand. But grouting this rock was definitely a challenge because the cracks were so big. But I am planning to add this sealer to the grout after the video to enhance the strength. It takes a few days to cure though. After I finish the floor, I then began to mortar the tile onto my curve. And I make sure that the top of the curve is slanted into the shower. That way any water on the curb will run into the shower. Then I seal all the corners in the wood with some high quality silicone. And finally, the shower is ready for use.